We want to tell you there is also a directive from the Attorney General's office to the nation's federal prosecutors. A letter from Jeff Sessions has instructed all 94 U.S. attorneys to pursue the most serious charges possible against most criminal suspects in their cities. This move overturns policies of former Attorney General Eric Holder that were written to avoid charging some defendants with drug offenses. Let's bring in Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton right now. Mr. Attorney General, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning from Texas.
So by triggering this mandatory minimum sentence, more suspects will be sent to prison for much longer terms. Your thoughts on this new directive?
So we've been looking for this for a long time, so we're pretty grateful that Sessions has issued this directive. You know, we've struggled with crime over at least the last 5 or 6 years in Texas related to illegals, and then we've also struggled with law enforcement not being allowed to do their jobs, so we're grateful for this new directive.
Ken, how does this directive play into the overall narrative that this administration is coming out with, whether it's building a wall, which has been a deterrent against illegal immigrants coming in? How do you see this playing out? So is it one cog in the wheel, or is this going to be the main directive, these types of policies to deter illegal and criminal activity?
I think it's another cog in the wheel. And, you know, we've struggled, as I said, over the last, 8 years not getting much help from the feds. We've had to fund our own efforts. Of course, we don't have the same authority. So I just know, talking to law enforcement, I know talking to our border agents, that this is making a significant difference in their efforts. And I think you're seeing the results in the statistics and the lower immigration problem that we're having. I think you're also going to see the effect on crime.
Ken, James Freeman here at the Wall Street Journal. I'm wondering, just sort of as a general matter, what Sessions seems to be saying is we're going to enforce the law, and if people think that drug sentencing is too harsh, that is an issue that the legislature ought to solve, not the Attorney General deciding we're not going to charge certain offenses.
Absolutely agree with that. I mean, it's not the job of the Attorney General's office, either whether it's state or federal, to decide what the law is. Our job is to enforce the law, and he's got the exact right view on this. If Congress wants to make it a lesser offense or a greater offense, it's up to them to make those changes.
Ken, it's Dagan McDowell, though. When you don't have all the states and cities in this country on board with enforcing the federal law, how much tougher does that make your job, the job of law enforcement in the state of Texas, the job of being the governor as well?
It's a lot tougher, and I think that's why you're seeing in Texas an effort by the legislature to clamp down. That's why they just banned sanctuary cities. That's why the governor signed it so quickly. Obviously we've had our problems here with, Travis County and Austin. That's why we sued them, because we have a sheriff that's releasing convicted felons and convicted criminals back into society, and there's absolutely no benefit to the state of Texas for that happening.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about all of this pushback? How is the president going to implement his agenda if you have these federal judges stopping and putting temporary bans on his immigration ban, for example?
Well, we're optimistic now that we have a full Supreme Court that some of this is going to be righted. The travel ban, for example, is absolutely correct under federal law. The Ninth Circuit made up the law, and so we're confident that as things move up to the U.S. Supreme Court, that these things are going to be corrected.
Let me ask you about this. 2 Republican lawmakers from Texas reportedly working with the Trump administration on an immigration and border security bill. CNN is naming House Homeland Security Chairman Mike McCall and Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn, along with Senate Homeland Committee Chairman Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, as the lawmakers work to craft this bill. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I'm glad 2 Texans are involved, but we're optimistic. I'm very glad they're working on it. This is something that we've been looking for years. It's been very frustrating for border states, particularly Texas, probably Arizona, not to have this type of legislation. So whatever they can do to make our job easier here, we're looking forward to seeing.
It's pretty incredible that the number of attempts to cross the border have dropped so much, given the fact that, he's facing all of this. What do you want to see in Texas in terms of border wall? I mean, there's this debate, obviously, about the border wall right now. In some areas on the South, we may not even need an actual wall, like a cement wall, right?
Yeah, this is great. The fact that the president is talking about it, I think that has an impact on illegal immigration. He's talking about it in the right way, but also just the fact that they're actually moving forward. Having the knowledge that a border wall is coming. You can just look at the example in El Paso and the difference that it made when they put a fence up in the 1990s, it made a significant difference in crime. So whether we have a wall all the way across, or whether it's more agents, or whether it's different technology, all of that, I think, will be effective in helping us make a difference in this problem that we have in Texas.
All right, we will leave it there. Ken Paxton, great to see you as always. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you.
Attorney General Ken Paxton there in Texas.